What's up, fantasy people? Thank you so much for tuning into the Fantasy Football Show. Today's episode, we're going to be drinking and ranking running backs. So, I'm going to share our running back list with you right now. So, you're looking at our most recent running back list. My running backs are color-coded for tiers. Right next to that are Jason's rankings, and then I averaged the two and gave us the show's rankings. And that is the order that we're going to go over running backs today. So, pay attention to this. So, now you can sit back and enjoy the show. Hey, what's up, fantasy people? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and Jason, the lucky bastard Ethan Wolt, coming at you live from the West Coast. And this is a fantasy football show. Today's episode, we're going to be going over our fantasy football running back rankings, Jason, the most important rankings of all, because, hey, dude, if you're playing old school fantasy football, running backs are the most important position. So I shared our Excel file that has my rankings, Jason's rankings, the average. We've got a bunch of other stuff on there. So if you want to pause it on that, open up another window, take a screenshot, whatever. We're trying to figure out the screen share stuff right now. I'm going to test it later on in the episode, but just in case it doesn't work, check that out. And Jason, before we get into all of the rankings, the meat of the episode, let's go into the bread and tell the public how they can help this show.
If you would like to give us some support, we will appreciate that. I was going to say something about mayonnaise since you were talking about bread, but then I was like, I hate mayonnaise.
Well, I was like, you're wearing white and your wall's white. I was like, what are you, mayonnaise today?
Mayonnaise. This is an off-white. It's an off-white.
Mayonnaise, that's a cool mayonnaise. That was a Jeff Foxworthy. You know, if you're redneck, if mayonnaise, a lot of people around here.
Shoot, man, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so if you guys want to get some more additional content, you could follow us on Instagram, and if you want some good material that you can listen on the way to work, we're on Spotify. I think we are hilarious without the faces. And for this episode, for this channel on our YouTube, our main, if you could please hit the subscribe, press the like. We like the likes. And leave us a comment about today's episode. We like the interaction with you guys.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you to all of the subscribers. It's pretty much from my video of how championships were won last year. But hey, dude, seriously, if you even subscribe or like to our videos, thank you so much. It goes so far for our channel. So thank you. Got to click this just to make that Viking show up behind my head. All right, Jason, let's get right into this. Top tier. I have got two people. You know what? I'm not going to go over tiers right now. You can look at my color-coded tiers, but that's going to be a small special episode right before, in August probably, before people start drafting, because that is a very important aspect of fantasy football, is drafting.
You want to do barbecue?
Oh, you know what, dude? Jason, before you say anything, my smoke alarm's going off. I feel the heat. I smell smoke. When I smell smoke, I feel the heat. It's time for the barbecue question of the week.
And this is the barbecue question of the week, where we answer the questions that you want to know. And this week's question is, I just want to know, the people want to know, Tyler, who are you eyeing as running backs in this upcoming draft?
So who am I keeping my eye on? Last second raking changes and stuff, depending on what happens. Well, hey, dude, obviously I'm a Vikings fan, and Dalvin Cook is going somewhere. I've been watching Dalvin Cook. I've been trying to check the, Javonte Williams situation, because that is pretty important. But Jason, we're talking pretty much like a top 5 running back prospect. Dude, he could be top 5 overall if he's healthy, and he's going in the 5th round or something like that. Breece Hall. So if Breece Hall is healthy, his ADP changes dramatically. So whose ADP right now is super low and could go super high, or vice versa? The greatest, value and change is Breece Hall, and that's who I'm going with.
And that's the one I would have gone to. And if I had to pick one, I would probably pick, Javonte Williams is definitely another one, but if I'm going somebody who's not coming back from an injury, I'd probably say Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's just because there's a lot going on with Jahmyr Gibbs that we've seen since he's been drafted, and I'm ready to see some clips of this guy running, catching, doing routes. I'm I feel like the more we see of this guy on the field, I feel like there's a good chance the higher his ADP will be, or
Thank you,
lower.
Jason. Good question. Thank you for that grilling. And now I'm feeling like we should get into our running back rankings.
All right.
So, Jason, I mean, pretty obvious. Let's open our file. People at home, check out your file from our intro, please. Christian McCaffrey, we've got like, I'm just gonna tell you right now, I've got a top tier, dude, and there's two people in this tier. You could argue that Christian McCaffrey could be in a tier by himself because he doesn't have a new offensive coordinator, Jason. But still, Christian McCaffrey, number one for both of us. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think he's the obvious one. 14 total touchdowns last year, 1 passing, 5 receiving. I think the one thing that really makes him a standout is that he did have over 1,000 yards rushing, and he did have 740 receiving yards. And, they have mediocre to good fantasy or offensive line, according to my source, Pro Football Network. I think that's what I was using for the offensive line. So.
Yeah, they had like a third tier, which is still good. They've got a good offensive line.
Yeah,
and I think it's because they lost McGlinchey and stuff, but I guarantee they'll fill those holes, Jason.
Yeah, I think he's the clear cut. This guy's he could kill it in, like I said, in rushing and receiving, and he could even throw the ball if they want to get creative. And Kyle Shanahan, he knows how to use the running backs. He's got to be number one.
And so I do want to say, Jason, that his ADP right now is 4.5. And our next up, who is Austin Ekeler, Jason, is actually going ahead of him in ESPN drafts right now. So you can see in ESPN drafts, people are taking Kelsey, people are taking, Justin Jefferson, people are taking wide receivers over Christian McCaffrey, our number one running back, pretty much a consensus number one running back, should be. But Ekeler is actually going before him. Ekeler does. Man, I'm drinking. I've got a spit in my mouth. Ekeler does have a red tag for 28. He's over 27, so we're red tagging that. Jason, how do you feel about Austin Ekeler as your number two?
Yeah, I put him down as number two, and the main reason why is because there wasn't a much drop off in his total touchdowns last year. His first year, he was first with 20 total touchdowns, and everyone was thinking there was going to be a huge drop off. No. He had 2 touchdowns less. I think he was still first in overall total touchdowns last year as well with 18. He even averaged more points per game, 18.3 points per game and a half-point PPR. So a little bit better than Christian McCaffrey, who is 18.5. And the guy also had 107 receptions. I was just talking about Christian McCaffrey's receiving core, or the way he could receive the ball could also help. I have him up here. I think he's also the clear-cut number 2. And part of the reason why is just because Kyle Shanahan is, he really focuses on getting the running back involved. And I feel, and we talked about this, Tyler, in your past episodes, that Kellen Moore is more of like a wide receiver, passing down to wide receivers. So I doubt that Austin Ekeler will get around 100 receptions again this year. But he's playing for a big payday. He wants to get paid next season. And just for the record, they have their offensive line, the Chargers' offensive line are ranked 12th.
Yeah, I mean, Rashawn Slater's back healthy. He's an amazing offensive lineman. Jason, Kellen Moore, the Cowboys average, they're top 10 in depth per target, whereas Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator for the Chargers last year, was 31st behind, I can't remember who it was, but some terrible team. So those dump-offs, and receptions are going to fall off greatly for Austin Ekeler, but scoring opportunities, as crazy as it sounds, his touchdowns might go up. So I still believe in Austin Ekeler. I'd take him second overall. You and I both agree. And then, Jason, as soon as we get into our third running back, it's a different tier, and you and I differ for the first time. You have Bijan Robinson, ranked number 3. I have him number 4. How do you feel about Bijan this year? Because the Atlanta Falcons are on our list. They have a top-tier offensive line.
So you have him at number 4?
See?
Okay. Yeah. I had him a little bit lower, but moved him up after I was really taking a deep dive into the rankings. I had a certain individual who dropped a couple of ranks, and we'll get there in a minute. But
What?
what? But Bijan Robinson, he's going to be the bell cow. He's got draft capital. This guy can catch and he can run. And Atlanta was second in rushing attempts last year with 32.9 rushing attempts per game. They have the fourth best offensive line. Arthur Smith, they want to use the most they can out of Bijan Robinson. So he's going to be highly involved in their game planning. And they also have a weak division. So, and he's 21 years old. So he could probably still,
Gosh,
yeah,
that's crazy.
21, and he could probably still play on a sprained ankle. He's like, that ain't nothing. So it's like, I'm going over like I said, the draft capital. They plan to use this guy, and they plan to use a lot of them. And the way this guy is built, I think he can withstand a lot. So being on that offensive line and being able to run as much as they're going to probably give him the ball, I like the opportunity that I see with Bijan Robinson with my third ranking.
Jason, it's funny. As soon as you said, man, he probably plays on a sprained ankle, I was like, you sprained my ankle. You better take me to the morgue and put me in one of those little shoe boxes.
That's it. That's it.
And that's it, dude. Take my pain away.
Take my pain away.
But hey, I mean, I think it's all comes down to opportunity for Bijan Robinson. I mean, if you draft somebody this high, dude, I bet you money. Like they're gonna, and Desmond Ridder is like, he is probably gonna dump off a lot to this dude. So PPR, and I mean, come on, man. This is like they run the ball like 50 times a game. So it's like if you're going by opportunity on an amazing talented running back, I really do not like ranking Bijan Robinson this high, but it's like as soon as I saw the Falcons' offensive line rank that high, you just kind of have to do it, man. So, anyways, getting into our next running back, I had just to say, Jason, real fast, I have Derrick Henry number 3 ahead of Bijan, but you have him ranked lower, so we'll talk about him later. And next up is Saquon Barkley, a similarly, talked about running back as far as, the next Adrian Peterson. This is Bijan Robinson type of stuff. But Barkley has a terrible offensive line. They had an easy schedule last season, and now they've got a brutal schedule, and they did not help their offensive line that much. So you have this bad offensive line with a brutal schedule. I see them regressing. I love Brian Daboll, but they did not address what they needed to in the offensive line and wide receiver categories. So, Jason, I'm kind of afraid of Barkley, but at the same time, you can't deny his usage and his talent. So you have to put him up here.
Yeah, this is the guy that I once had at number 3, and now I've dropped him down to number 5. I was really high on him. I'm still really high on him. Number 5, but I feel like there's 2 running backs. I feel like I get more productivity out of them. I mean, Saquon had 10 total touchdowns last year, but he also had 76 targets, which I did like. And he was 4th in rushing with 1,300 yards. He averaged 14.2 points per game and, came back. He looked like the old Saquon Barkley. That's his first couple of years. That's what everyone was trying to get that Barkley. Took a while because of injuries, but he did come back and he looked pretty good. Offensive line is ranked 29th. And I don't like that. And they're also in a tough division. And I believe his success relies a lot on Daniel Jones. And I am not high on Daniel Jones this year.
Yeah, so Barkley is just a situation where it's like, we really like good offensive lines. McCaffrey, Ekeler, Bijan. Oh my God, dude, look at their offensive lines. But Barkley is so talented, and his usage is just off the charts. So it's like you kind of just have to put him up in this category. If I could pass on him and get, maybe a Nick Chubb or Derrick Henry or something like that, even though Derrick Henry's offensive line is really bad. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, Jason, he does have the same average score as our next running back, Nick Chubb. And, yeah, dude, Nick Chubb is so disrespected in this fantasy football game. I can't remember what round he went last year, dude, but he was a top back for like most of the year. And the scary thing is, though, Jason, is that as soon as Deshaun Watson went in, Chubb's production went way down. So like he was killing it, dude. And then Deshaun Watson came in and he did not kill it much more. But you have to think that was just like, dude, Deshaun Watson didn't do well overall. So I am expecting Deshaun Watson to do much better. I love Kevin Stefanski, the old offensive coordinator for the Vikings. So I believe in the offense. Their offensive line is what ranks second in PFF for the next coming season. So it's just tough to do.
You're absolutely right, dude. The disrespect that Nick Chubb gets, it blows my mind. And you did say, I think it was like between weeks 1 and 10, he was ranked number 1 for those weeks. Deshaun Watson came in, I do believe he's going to play better. Nick Chubb last year, he's 27 years old. Last year, he was 3rd in touchdowns with 13. He had 1 receiving touchdowns, and he was 3rd in rushing with 1,500 yards. And check this out, dude. He was actually 2nd in juke rate. His juke rate was 40%. That means he was juking people a little less than...
And he's big, too, dude.
Yeah, 40% this guy was juking you. It was crazy... That's a crazy amount. And Tyler, he was also 3rd in breakaway percentage with 7.6. So 7.6% of the time, this guy was getting a breakaway, right? And then he averaged like 15.8 a game. I have his offensive line is 2nd, and this dude has averaged 5 yards a carry last season, and he's never averaged below 5 in his career. So I'm like, dude, this guy's not getting the respect that he should. And then they go ahead and they added more firepower to the offense with Deshaun Watson coming back on year 2. They got Elijah Moore, and they drafted that wide receiver from Cedric Tillman in the 3rd round. They got him in the 3rd round, but that was the Browns' first pick. They didn't have a pick in the first 2 rounds. And then the one stat I do like is that Nick Chubb in the 4th quarter, he led the league with most rushing with 496 and tied for the most rushing touchdowns in the 4th quarter with 6. So it doesn't matter if it was win, lose, or draw. They were still giving this ball at the end of the 4th quarter for him to rack up more points.
That's a good stat.
And then one of the main things that I love about Nick Chubb is that Kareem Hunt's gone. Gone, baby. Gone.
Yeah, they still have to something Robinson, whatever. But anyways, dude, he is going, like if you're in a 12-man league, he's going in the middle of the second. He's going on the 2-3 turn and 10-man. So that's great value. I think he'd be your number 1 running back, no problem. If you want to go wide receiver first round or whatever you want to do, tight end first round, like I might do. It's crazy. And then Jason, so I had him ranked 7 and you had him ranked 4. You are higher on Chubb than I am, and I thought I was super high on Chubb, so I'm happy to hear that you're even higher on him. And next up, Jason Henry, who I have as 3. Jason, you ranked Henry as 9, and I know his our average is at a 6. I do know that his offensive line is ranked super low, but like I said in our offensive line rankings video, Peter Skoronski got drafted this season, and Rashawn Slater was just talking up Skoronski. I think that they drafted a dude. Who's that guy for the? Why can't I think of his name for the Colts? Who's that awesome offensive lineman that they drafted?
Nelson.
I think they have a Quentin Nelson Q type of offensive lineman that's just gonna just blow. It's gonna turn things around, dude. And if you saw Derrick Henry last season, his efficiency rating was like 20% higher than any other running backs. Like I owned Derrick Henry. I didn't feel like I won, but apparently he scored like elite 80% of the time. And, the second running back was like 60% of the time. So as far as like efficiency goes, his floor was super high last year, especially against the Texans. So Jason, how do you feel about Henry? I know you're lower on him.
Well, I do like me some Derrick Henry. But yeah, I am a little bit lower. He was 3rd in touchdowns last year with 13. And he was 2nd in rushing with 1,538. In a half PPR, he averaged 17.9 points per game. The crappy thing is that he does have the worst offensive line in the league. And he averages only 4.4 yards per carry. he had 4 games under 13 points last year. That's not bad. Not so bad, you know. But that's not somebody I really want to get in my first like round. Is somebody who's under 13 points that much, I guess you could say, but it's not really that bad. But my whole thing is, it's like he's being this productive with his bad offensive line, and they're still just giving him the ball. He had like 350 carries last year in 2022, and then his whole career, he has a total of 1,750 carries, and that's just I just think about being 28 years old. That's how old he is, and getting hit by these huge linebackers 1,750 times. And I think, eventually it's going to wear somebody down. And I could see a possibility of that happening to him this year. He's going to be slowed down just a bit. But also, the uncertainty with their quarterback is also a big negative sign for me. It's like, Ryan Tannehill, is he gonna play well? Is he gonna be hurt? Is it gonna be Malik Willis? Malik Willis, or Will Levis?
No thanks.
It's like
Will Levis, man.
These I still have him in the top 10, but I just think like this is probably where he's probably going to end up. I still think he's going to end up as a top 10.
So Henry, dude, is like a lock as a top tier running back, but his variables are age, 29, entering next season, and offensive line, which is the worst. But like I said, Peter Skoronski. All right, Jason. So this next dude is the best running back that Nick Bosa has ever seen. Okay, and I have him ranked higher than anybody else I think I've seen. I love me some, and he might not play this season, so maybe that's why I'm not seeing him, Jason. But Josh Jacobs, Jason, I have him ranked 5th. You have him ranked 8th. He is 6.5, and I just listen to football players when I can, and when I hear Bosa talking about the best running back he's ever seen, I pay attention to that player. So how do you feel about Josh Jacobs?
Okay, so Josh Jacobs, 25 years old. He looked pretty dang good last year, right? He probably helped get some players to the playoffs and the championship. He was 6th in total touchdowns. He had 12 total. He was the lead rusher last year with 1,653 yards. This guy averaged 17.8 points per game and a half-point PPR. And his offensive line, it's not great. It's 18th in the league. And then again, he could be the vocal point for the offensive line, or for the offense. This is why I have Josh Jacobs as a number 8 above Derrick Henry. My thing is, the reason why he's dropped out a little bit is that we've been waiting for so long for Josh Jacobs to do something like this. This been in the league for like 4 years. Like, we just waited and waited and waited. People were like giving up, and then it finally happened, and now everyone's like jumping to this. And I'm thinking, what are the chances that this could be a one-hit wonder, Tyler? Like, we waited so long for it to happen. It happened. Everyone's thinking very highly of him, drafting him pretty high. The fact that there's been more like down years than good years, it's really affecting my judgment on this. And
yeah, and watching that dude is super fun, man. Like, I live in Redding, California, almost Redding, California. All I get are Oakland games. All I got was Oakland games. And yeah, dude, watching that guy is fun to own. It's like a Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. Do you have anything else to say about that?
Nope.
Okay. So, Jason, next up, number 1 consistent running back last year. Offensive line just took a dump all over the place. Matt Ryan couldn't even throw the damn ball. Michael Pittman screwed me hardcore. I might as well have been on like I don't know, getting paid to get screwed because I got screwed so hard.
Praise him.
So, Jonathan Taylor-Thomas, Jason, they got the Eagles offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. I can't remember. I think it's their offensive coordinator. That they want to build the trenches. Yeah. So he knows offensive lines. He knows how to run the ball more than anybody else. So that is promising, but I just don't trust Anthony Richardson. Like, watching his tape, dude. Oh my God. Are they going to move the ball? Like, how long is it going to take for them to move the ball?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Is he going to steal touchdowns? So Jonathan Taylor-Thomas, he's only 24 years old. He's amazing. He's huge. He's fast. Great offensive line coach. But Jason, there's a lot of questions with the Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, he had a plague season last year. I think he only played 11 games. And in those 11 games, he only had 4 total touchdowns. Their offensive line just dropped in rankings. They used to be so good, and then just a bad year. They dropped at 24th ranked in the league. Not really much good stats for last year, so I just kind of went back the year before, and this is like the potential that we can see with Jonathan Taylor is that he averaged 19.5 rushes a game in 2021. I believe he led the league in rushing with 1,811, and he averaged 5.5 yards per carry, and he averaged 106.5 yards per game, and he had 8 rushing touchdowns and 1 reception touchdown. And what I'm thinking is what you said. You know, they got that offensive coordinator from the Eagles. Was it Frank Stecham? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Stecham. I can never say his last name.
I'll figure him out if he's good.
Yeah, and he's probably going to work on that offensive line. He's going to work on that running game. So that's why I have him at 7, because I think there's a good chance he could get back to dominating, but it's also going to be a little bit of a handicap because Anthony Richards is going to be there, and he's playing a huge wild card in Jonathan Taylor's success.
Wild card. It's draft time, people. Woo! Upcoming episode, August. Jason's doing a drunken video. It's hilarious. All right, Jason. So next up is your expertise. All right. So I could be wrong on this. I have this dude ranked behind Najee. But I have him ranked 10th. You have him ranked 6th. Jason is a Cowboys fan, so he should know what he's talking about.
Oh, pressure.
The average of that is 8. How do you... Okay, so Tony Pollard, I feel like... the only reason I'm not liking Tony Pollard is because Mike McCarthy. But Jason, you're the Cowboys, dude. Tell me about him.
Oh, my gosh. This guy, I mean, kind of just going off from last year. He's 26 years old. He was 6 in total touchdowns with 12. This guy had 1,000 rushing yards. This is a guy who was first on breakaway percentage, Tyler. So he was number 1 with 8.8% chance that this guy was going to have a breakaway. He had 5.2 yards per carry. He averaged 14.3 points per game. McCarthy wants to run the ball a little bit more. They had the fifth ranked offensive line in the NFL. And the one thing I do like is that Ezekiel Elliott's gone. They did draft a running back, but in the 7th round. So there's no running back draft capital that he's going up against. He had a 3-game stretch, Tyler, that he carried the ball for 48 times, and he had 6 touchdowns in that stretch, and he averaged 29 points per game in fantasy.
I remember that. Everybody's like, man, get rid of Zeke. Oh, my God.
Yeah. And so now, and that's basically when Zeke was kind of like, he was hurt, and Tony Pollard was the starter. So now we're going to see that full-time starter with Tony Pollard behind that offensive line, that speed, that breakaway agility. I have him pretty high.
Yeah, and you'll see like he's going like 23rd overall, which is a 2-3 turn and a 12-man. It's like 3rd round and a 10-man. So like if you're getting Tony Pollard in 2-3 turns, say he's you get a wide receiver. Say you get a wide receiver in like Patrick Mahomes, and then you get Tony Pollard. Oh my God, dude, that'd be amazing. Next up, Jason, my personal favorite, Najee Harris. I have him ranked 9. You have him ranked 11. I have him ranked over Pollard. He is he's 25 years old, and he's going. Pollard is going 23 overall. Dude, Najee is going 36 overall. So this is where we start to see some value. And
absolutely.
He's on my target list, dude. Oh my God. And they drafted Broderick Jones, and then they got that like 6'7" lurch dude, the tight end, that Washington, who's the next Mercedes Lewis. He's an extra left tackle or tackle whatever. I believe in the Steelers running game this season. How do you feel about Najee, Jason?
Well, if you're telling me he's going number 36, so you and I are ranking him a little bit higher, that could be a change in your fantasy football draft. If you're getting this guy at 36, and he's got potential, I say he's got potential to be in the top 11. Tyler, what'd you say you have him at?
I've got him 9, but like 9, he's got potential to be a top 5 running back, dude. Like his usage was insane 2 years ago, and then the Steelers sucked.
Yeah.
but they invested it back into the offensive line, and Kenny Pickett was doing well at the end of last year. So I think he's being undervalued right now, but so does everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely. He was 10th in total touchdowns last year with 10. He had 3 reception touchdowns. He was 5th in juke rate with 32.2%. He was 13th in rushing with 1,038, and he averaged 13.4 points per game, half point PPR. The Steelers' offense is ranked 16th in the league, but the issue was like Harris was only averaging about 3 yards per carry, and he didn't get a lot of receptions as he did his rookie year. I think that,
Jason,
yeah.
I do want to point out, Jason, that sorry, I'm looking at this. You and I are lower on Jonathan Taylor than ESPN has him at 4. We're like 7.5. Jason, they have Najee Harris at 15. We're at 10.
That's what I'm saying.
So
Yeah.
like, ESPN needs to get their head out of their butts, dude. Where they got that one dude with the freaking bear suit going off, telling people that he sucks or something. Oh, I hate ESPN. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is a lot of people like the ESPN mock drafts are like based off of ESPN rankings. And so that's why he's going so late. But you and I, like, we're willing to pick this guy up earlier than what ESPN is and can see he can have a very good season. He can have a great season, really.
Jason, I'll pick him up.
Yes.
Put a ring on the finger. Then I'll carry him through the front door of my new house.
Yeah.
All right.
With roses. So hold on, Tyler. Let me finish this real quick. So like you said, they got Broderick Jones, and they also signed left guard Isaac Siumalu from the Eagles. And the Eagles are ranked the number 1 top line in the league, and they got somebody from the Eagles, a left guard. And then they're supposed, and the Kenny Pickett is supposed to have a kind of a jump off year as the second year. He's supposed to have a productive year. So
yeah,
Steelers offense is going to get better. We're going to see Najee Harris do better. Okay.
People don't believe it until they see it, and now they're going to see it. And so this is the one time to get a discount on this. All right, Jason. Jahmyr Gibbs, next up. I have him ranked 11. You have him ranked 12. That's pretty close. ESPN has him ranked 18. I believe in, dude, Lions offensive line is top 10. Jamal Williams is leaving, and that's like 18 touchdowns, dude. I don't care. Dave Montgomery can score 9 of those touchdowns. Like, oh my God, dude. Jahmyr Gibbs, I feel like, is being undervalued. How do you feel about Jahmyr Gibbs?
Well, I actually have Jahmyr Gibbs as number 13. But the one thing that really excites me about this guy is that his draft capital, he was a first-round pick, and the Lions' reaction when they got him, like they know they have a plan for this guy. And there's already been stuff said where we got Gibbs is already saying like he's comparing the Lions practice to Alabama's practice and saying like the Lions practice isn't as hard as Alabama. So things look like they're going to be going a little bit easier for him. And apparently they're using him all over the field. This guy has a great catching ability. It's a 10. His speed, it's a 10. He's going to be a matchup nightmare for anybody. And the one thing I'm kind of like comparing here is like, as Jared Goff as a quarterback, do I see some dump offs to like a Todd Gurley here with Jahmyr Gibbs? He has big play potential. I'm kind of seeing around like 50 to 60 receptions this year.
Well, do you remember Reggie Bush's like first year in Detroit? Oh my God, he killed it, dude. I think I owned him. And he was like, he touched the ball like 10 times a game, but like carried my team. It was crazy. So like, I think Jahmyr Gibbs, just watching him is like, he looks like a badass. And I didn't get that feeling from Swift. I feel like he's a more durable. Like I think what I give. Oh my God, dude! I wrote it down somewhere else. Marshall Faulk. No. That was A-Chain. I forget who Jahmyr Gibbs was my comp, but oh my God, dude! Like Frank Gore, I think. And I was like, this guy is tough. I know he's small, but man, this guy like runs through the tackles. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's good. And then Jason, he's only 21 years old, like we said, so he'll play on 1 feet. I play on 2 feet. He plays on 1 feet.
Yeah.
Jason, I know you don't have him ranked, but Dalvin Cook, I have him ranked next. Just because, like, I mean, wherever he goes is going to be like he's going to be the main focus. If he goes to the Cowboys, he's going to f that all up. If he goes to the Dolphins, he's going to f that all up. But we'll see. Just say he goes to like the Rams or something. Like I would rank him after Gibbs, something like that. You don't have him ranked. He is like 28 years old. He's going in number 29 overall, so people are still drafting him super high. Where do you think he should land to have the most fantasy value, at least?
I really don't know. To have the most fantasy value, people, they're saying, what's the rumor? Miami?
Yeah, I was going to say Dolphins, obviously, I think.
But I also don't think he's going to get the most value out of there because they got 4 running backs that they're going to be using, and they drafted it. Yeah, they're all fast, and they drafted A-Chain. I would like to see him to go to the Bengals if the Bengals let go of Joe Mixon. But with the rumors,
they drafted Rashawn. Didn't they draft Rashawn Johnson? Or no. God, dude, I want to say the Bengals drafted somebody.
They did. I can't remember who, but I looked that up.
No, the Bears was Rashawn Johnson.
Let's see if I have that in my notes here because they did.
I was watching. I've been going through a bunch of dynasty crap because that's all that's on Reddit right now, and it was
Chase Brown.
Thank you, Chase Brown. I was like, somebody's like, that was their sleeper. That's some dynasty crap.
There's even rumors that he may go to the Jets, and I think if he goes to the Jets, he could play very well in the passing game.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. So, like, the Jets, like, say Breece Hall is not what they think, and they know that Aaron Rodgers' window is so small. If he goes to the Jets, dear God, dude, watch out, because that's West Coast. I mean, look where he just came from. He came from a disciple of Sean McVay, who is a disciple of Kyle Shanahan. So there you go. He'll fit the system. And then dude, oh my God. I mean, Jets are probably the best scenario. But I think Dolphins are pretty damn good too because I love Mike Daniels and he's just waiting to like unleash the running backs on the league. We'll talk about that later. All right, Jason. So there we go. Just real fast on that dude. And then did I put Dalvin Cook? Oh crap. 1 second, let me write it down.
Mr. Kick.
All right, and now next up, Jason, is Ramondre Stevenson, who carried your sister so far last year. I have him ranked 14. You have him ranked 10. So I know you're high on him. Why are you high on him?
Because of what I saw last year, for one. I think this year, there's a lot of belief, a lot of confidence from Bill Belichick in Stevenson this year. He was only 20th in total touchdowns last year with 6. He was 12th in rushing with 1,040. Tyler, this guy was number 1 in juke rate. Number 1, 40%, 40.5% in juking. He averaged 12.6 points per game. The Patriots, they do have the 17th ranked offensive line. But during his stay last year, he averaged 5 yards per carry. Damian Harris, gone. They went and got James Robinson. He's gone. They didn't draft nobody. And this guy had 88 targets last year on 69 receptions. So they really use him in the passing game.
You say James Robinson?
Yeah, he got cut. He got a couple of weeks ago.
Are you talking about the Eagle? You're talking about the Jets still, aren't you?
No, he doesn't play for the Jets no more.
He played for the Patriots?
Yeah, well, they picked him up in the offseason.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Holy crap, that's crazy.
And then they let him go.
That's not, dude, James Robinson. Oh my God, dude.
Yeah, hasn't been really great for the kid.
That sucks. I was like, man, are you talking about the same people? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm trying to do a little fact checks right now.
Ramondre was like a PPR monster last year, but guess what, dude? They got a different offensive coordinator, and they want to throw the ball. Like you saw Mac throw the effing ball, man. So.
Yeah, it looked like around June 14th is when James Robinson was cut by the Patriots.
Okay, but Jason, how do you feel about Patriots? Over the years, how do you feel about Patriots running backs in general?
I have not liked them.
I know that's the only problem right now. So, like, I have him ranked lower, I think, just because he's a Patriots running back. Say this dude was on somewhere else, I'd be like, oh my God, have you seen this guy catch passes and run the ball between the tackles? This guy's amazing. He's huge. He's talented.
I think I think
the
I'm
fact he's
higher
on
on
the
him.
Patriots.
I'm higher on him. He doesn't have the best offensive line. I like the confidence in him. I like the receptions. Like I said, he had 88 targets last year on 69 catches. And I mean, they're going to be in a tough division going against the Jets and the Bills. But this guy has nobody else battling him. There's no other running back. It's him.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great. I think he could be your number one running back, and you'd be fine. And I think you'd be fine with this dude right here, Jason. Kenneth Walker. Everybody's freaking out about. You and I both have him ranked the same. 13.
I got him at 12.
God, dude, I must have read your stuff wrong. Whatever.
I mean, that's still pretty close, you know.
Well, you sent me a bunch of changes, so I'm blaming you.
Yeah, that's.
I thought I changed.
Fine.
I thought I changed them all.
It probably would be the same too if I would have drafted like Dalvin Cook. But yeah, I mean, 12 and 13. That's right there. That's like basically the same.
And ESPN has him as 14, so you're looking like right now, like if you want to like trust a ranking, look at Kenneth Walker. When you watch Kenneth Walker, Jason, he set up safeties. I've never seen anybody other than Barry Sanders. Like, I'm going to set up the dude like 20 yards downfield. I'm going to juke these other guys. I don't care about these other guys. Don't mean anything to me. I'm worried about the guy 20 yards downfield. So right. His talent is insane, but they drafted Charbonnet, and that's the only reason I did not push him into the next tier. So, how do you feel about Walker?
So, I would have Walker still maybe a little bit higher, not too much, but he did have a pretty good season last year. He was 13th in total touchdowns with 9. He was 11th in rushing, and he didn't get the starting job till week 4, 5, 6, something like that. He was 7th in juke rate with 31%. He was 4th in breakaway percentage at 7.5. This guy averaged 12.6 points per game. My kind of issue I was thinking about, one of them, is that he averaged 4.6 yards per carry. And I do remember he had some breakaways last year. I know he had like a 65-yarder. He had a 70-yarder in these games. I'm just thinking, like, if those big runs were kind of like wiped out, what would his yards per carry be? Maybe a little bit lower, but that's something different. His offensive line is 19th in the NFL. And the main issue is that the offense added more firepower, and they have now draft capital with Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, and they lost Blythe. Remember I was telling you about that center,
yes,
like the 30-year-old
center.
He retired, dude. Like, oh my God.
He gone.
And Pete Carroll was just talking about, like, I had an article from last year, and he was like, man, this guy just, like, glued our offensive line together. This was amazing. This is the best signing I've ever had. And then they lost him. So just, like, it really made me worry about a lot of Seattle. And I haven't factored that in too much, but I believe in Kenneth Walker just, like, so much because of his vision. So that's why I didn't care too much. But he is being drafted, Jason, 49th overall. So we're getting into later rounds now. And so that's like, 6 turn on redraft, 10-team leagues and like 4th round or whatever in 12-team leagues. Jason, next up, we're going to drive Miles. Who is it? Wait, no. Sonic and Miles, dude. We're talking about Sonic's sidekick, Miles Sanders. Jason, he has the potential to do it really well. He is only 26 years old, which is like, 1 year under the cut. But he's got 2 years to be productive there in Carolina. How do you feel about Sanders? We're higher on him. You're higher on him. I have him 17. You have him 14. ESPN has him 21. So we're higher than ESPN, but you're higher than I am. How do you feel?
Oh my gosh. It might be dropping even more, but so Miles Sanders, as you said, he was 26. I never had a lot of faith in him just because he was always getting injured. But then he had a full season last year, and he did great. He was 9th in total touchdowns with 11. He was 5th in rushing with 12.69, and he averaged 4.9 yards per carry. That was with the Eagles, who had the number 1 offensive line in the league. Now he's on a team that's 11th in offensive line. Good, not great. They have a rookie quarterback And the size of this 12-year-old as the quarterback, like, I feel like they are going to try to avoid him getting hit at all, and they may rely on the run a lot. And the new head coach, he was talking who the new they have a new head coach. It was Frank Wright, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I targeted him in free agency. So it's like new coach, one of this guy went out and got him, and he's gone on the record that he's saying that like he wants to bring back Miles Sanders to his rookie form and his catching ability, where his rookie season he got 50 catches, and they want to bring that back for Miles Sanders. And then they also have like a weak division, and his backup is like Chuba Hubbard. So I feel kind of confident he's not going to lose like his starting role.
Yeah, so Miles Sanders, I think, is a value for us. Jason, next up, we're talking about Baskin Robbins. No, we're talking about J.K. Dobbins. So,
okay.
You and I have him ranked the same, Jason. And guess what? We're way higher than ESPN. 16. Dude, the Ravens led the league in rushing last year with attempts, like 500 and something. The next dude was like 100 people lower. Their offensive line is like top tier, almost top tier. And then, dude, Lamar Jackson said he's going to throw for 6,000 yards. What is Dobbins going to do? I think that Dobbins is like, dude, he like led the league in yards per average for like a month last year after he came back from injury. I believe in Dobbins. ESPN does not. I think he's one of the few people that you can get a value on. His ADP is 74th. So we just went from 56 Sanders, 74 Dobbins. I love Dobbins, Jason. I think you do too. How do you feel about him?
Yeah, I've liked Dobbins. I think I had him his rookie year. And then, the following year he tore his ACL out. Then I picked him up last year, and early on he did struggle. You could tell he was still dealing with the injury. I mean, he only had like 3 total touchdowns, and one of them was receiving touchdowns. But in the end, when he started feeling healthy again, he had 5.7 yards per carry. He did only average 9.7 yards per game, half point PPR. But the Ravens, their offensive line is 6th ranked in the NFL, and they are number 1 in block run win rate at 77%, I think I saw. So,
dang, that's good.
Yeah, so as I was talking about, he started the year, he was dealing with this, repaired knee. But the last 4 games of the season, he averaged 6.9 yards per carry, and 2 of those games he rushed for over 120 yards. So
yeah, I remember that, dude.
Yeah, when he was finally healthy, he was killing it.
I got Gus Edwards, and I was like, I picked the wrong guy.
Yeah, and then one of my main concerns though is that what's their offensive coordinator name? Is it like Todd Monken?
Yeah, the NFL players love him, but it's hard to when you look at some stats.
Well, it looks like he's going to lean a lot on the passing game.
Yeah, that's exactly what Lamar Jackson was saying.
Yeah, and J.K. Dobbins wasn't much of a pass catcher. But they have one of the top offensive lines for running. So that's J.K. Dobbins' alley.
Oh, yeah, baby. All right, Jason. So next up for me, I know you didn't rank him. I'm going to have Alvin Kamara in there. And I know it's not great, but I mean, you saw what Josh Jacobs did with Derek Carr at the helm. And Saints they don't have a great offensive line right now, but there was a whole article about how they're underrated. And why that's so is because I think it was a rookie offensive lineman that only started like at the end of last year, something like that. So Kamara, we're not going to worry about. We have him ranked 19 right now. ESPN has him 22. That's somebody that you need to pay attention to and see if he's going to play. Because if he's not going to play, you need to go grab Jay Willie, the Pokemon gym master of NFL, Jason. And you got to build your team so you can beat him. But so getting into next, Jason, we're going to go into Aaron Jones. I have him ranked 20. What's up?
I got something to say.
About Kamara?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so
I know you mentioned like you just mentioned what Josh Jacobs did under Derek Carr, And earlier this year, we did a kind of like comparison where you gave out passing stats between two players and the passing stats were very similar. And it was Derek Carr and Andy Dalton. And we just talked about how like the Saints are getting Derek Carr, who is just the same as Andy Dalton, passing stats wise, but younger. But part of the reason why I didn't rank him is just because of his legal actions. And then the Saints are also maybe preparing for something too, because they went out and got Jamal Williams, and then they also went out and drafted a running back too. So right now they got 2 running backs. Without Alvin Kamara, they come in. There's going to be 3 running backs there, most likely, and that's why I just didn't. I mean, if there was no legal issues, he would be on this list. But
what he has going for him is he's playing for a defensive coach. And their offensive line is probably going to be good because the Saints' offensive line is always pretty good. But yeah, we'll have to that's one of the running backs we're going to have to pay attention to, and we'll change our rankings accordingly. Next up, Jason, number 20, or no, this is number 20 on my list. 20 on my list. 19 overall. 18 on your list. Aaron Jones, Jason. I am just not believing. I don't want anything of the Packers this year, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just downgrading all Packers, and I probably shouldn't. But yeah, dude, Aaron Jones is getting old, dude. And he needed I feel like he needed Aaron Rodgers more than AJ Dillon needed Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm just downgrading the hell out of him. I know you're a little bit higher on him than I am. How do you feel about him? He's 28 years old. He is red flagged his age. Like I said, he's still going 36 overall. So it's pretty crazy how high this dude's going.
Yeah, he kind of scares me. He had 7 total touchdowns last year, but 5 of those touchdowns were through receiving. He was 9th in rushing with 1,121, and he was 8th in juke rate at 29.4%. So he had a career high in targets with 72 and receptions at 59 last year, and he averaged 5.3 yards per carry. The Packers had the 9th best offensive line in the NFL. The one stat that I really liked is Aaron Jones is the type of guy that doesn't need to run the ball a lot. He has 3 1,000 rushing seasons with under 25 attempts, and that's 3rd all time, right? So it's not like he needs a lot of rushing attempts to reach that. He's a good runner. They have a good offensive line. But my main concern is what you said, Tyler, is Aaron Rodgers. The defenses were afraid of Aaron Rodgers, right? Defenses now are not going to be afraid of Jordan Love unless he just ends up going nuclear and he's just crazy. Yeah. So no fear in Jordan Love. Might as well just put 9 in the box to stop the running game and force Jordan Love to throw.
All right, Jason. Next up, Travis Etienne. He was a darling last season. Dude, he was killing it. He got dumped on by freaking, what's that a-hole's name? Urban Meyer. I mean, total douchebag.
Yeah.
Didn't even know how to use him. And then, hey, dude, Peterson comes in and he starts doing well. He's a smaller back. I just kind of have fears over their offensive line because they lost we talked about. He was the number 3 offensive lineman in the free agency last year. He's there. They lost their best offensive line. Juwan Taylor, dude, the right tackle, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
To the Chiefs. That's terrible loss. I do believe in Peterson. I believe in Trevor Lawrence. But maybe I don't believe in Etienne now. So I did downgrade him. I have him at 21. You have him at 17. How do you feel about Etienne?
Well, he didn't have a lot of touchdowns last year. He only had 5. But he was 8th in rushing with 1,125. And he still averaged over 5 yards per carry at 5.1. He averaged 11 points per game. The offensive line is ranked 26, and then they also lost their best offensive lineman to the Chiefs. But the one thing I do like is that James Robinson was on the team last year, I think for the first 6 games, and then they traded him. So they have a lot of belief, a lot of confidence in Travis Etienne. And then also we got to think last year was technically Etienne's rookie year because he didn't play the year before at all. So this was technically his first time playing, and it was his rookie year. So now I'm expecting to see a a jump up. And I would actually have him a little bit lower in the rankings, but they went out and been getting running backs and they drafted one. So, but I still think he's going to be the main dude. He's a little bit higher just because, other people are going to get their time to shine in Jacksonville as well.
All right. And Jason, I've got this next dude up on a higher tier just because of his opportunity, but they drafted a replacement kind of, and he's had legal issues over the offseason. Joe Mixon, I know you named your team after him last season. It's just like you have to draft him because of where he is. But, I mean, other than his 50-point game last season, he was pretty lackluster. How do you feel about him?
Well, yeah, I did have him. I picked him in the first round last year, and this is the thing with him, right? He had 9 total touchdowns, 2 of them reception touchdowns, but he had one game that was 5 touchdowns. So one over half of his total he got in one game. So take that one game out. This guy only had 4 touchdowns last year. He only averaged 3.9 yards per carry. That's the same as Najee Harris. And his offensive line is ranked 15 in the NFL. He averaged 15 points per game, half point PPR, and I put bull crap. And that's just because I had him, and I don't remember seeing any of these 50-point games. You got to remember, he did have one game that he did score 50 points because he had 5 touchdowns against the Panthers. If we're taking that game out, he only reached 15 points last year 3 times. So he's not efficient, but I can see him as like a passing down RB. He did have 60 receptions last year, which is pretty good. But he also has legal issues that's going on. And the Bengals went out and they drafted Chase Brown, which Fan Nation gave a grade A for that pickup. So I have him a little bit lower at 24.
Yeah, so I've got him at 15 because of, dude, if you're the running back for the freaking Bengals, you need to be ranked high. Jason, next up, Samaje Perine. I know you love him. You owned him last season. Maybe? I can't remember. I know you were a Mixon owner. At least you saw Samaje. So Samaje is 28, but he does not have the carries of a normal 28-year-old. He's getting, what's his name? The new, God, why can't I think of his name, Jason? Sean Payton offense, upgraded offensive line. He wants to protect himself from what is Russell Wilson. So I can see Samaje Perine killing it in the first half, but I am still waiting on Javonte Williams before I put Perine way up where I think he should be. So I have him 27. You have him 15. You have him where he probably should be, and I have him. I'm still kind of waiting on him. So tell me what you think about Perine.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you, though, because it kind of falls back on Javonte Williams of how his health is going to look. But, he's signed with the Broncos. He's going to have lead back duties. And last year I did have him because Joe Mixon went out with concussions, I think. And in those two and a half games that Samaje Perine played, he had 3 reception touchdowns against the Steelers. He had 1 rushing touchdown against the number 1 run defense at that time, the Titans, and he rushed for 106 yards against the Chiefs in those games. And he had 14 receptions on 18 targets during that span. So we know this guy could catch. I think he's possibly a steal if Javonte Williams misses a lot or misses the whole game. And the Broncos are 10th. Their offensive line is ranked 10th in the NFL. Then we go ahead and we talk about Sean Payton is now the head coach. So new coach, Sean Payton, went out and targeted this guy in free agency. And I like that.
So dude, Jason, Perine is 97 overall right now, ADP. Mixon 31, ETN 29, Jones 36. So it's dude, give me Perine because I don't want Mixon that much. I really don't want ETN. It's so he's a great value right now, and that's why we were saying it's going to change. Javonte Williams is one of the people I was keeping my eye on. It's going to change for him and Perine. Jason, talk about keeping your eye on somebody.
Yeah,
Breece Hall, I have him 22. You have him 21. And then, dude, ESPN has him all the way up at 16. They're acting like he's starting or something like that. So Brees Hall, I was talking about how Mekhi Becton is coming off. He was a top 5 draft pick. Was it Becton? And then, God, dude, they've got 2 offensive linemen. I wish I could remember what it was. Is Becton something? And then they got somebody else too, Dwayne Brown. Dude, they've got their offensive line could either be like amazing. Oh, and Vera Tucker. So Becton was a top 5 pick. Vera Tucker was an all pro who got injured. And then Dwayne Brown has been like a top 5 tackle forever. So they could either have a top offensive line or a bottom offensive line, depending on health. That's why we need to pay attention to offensive line health and Brees Hall health, going for Brees Hall.
Yeah, and what we saw at Brees Hall was magnificent last year. In his short period, he had 5 total touchdowns, 1 reception touchdown. Tyler, I want you to hear this. His juke rate, I think he's not ranked just because of his attempts. But I guess if he had enough attempts, he would have been number 1 with 50.5% juke rate. That means half the time this guy was juking people out of them shoes. Need to get some new cleats because you just got juked out of your shoes, homie. He juked so hard he tore his own ACL, dude. That's how hard this guy goes. And he averaged 5.8 yards per carry. He had 19 receptions in 6.5 games last year. He averaged 13.7 points per game. The Jets are
dude, like 50-plus yard touchdowns, Jason. Now he's going to an offense with A-Rod. So, I mean, come on,
yeah.
man.
His offense is ranked 21st in the NFL by Pro Fantasy Network. They did have the ACL tear, but their head coach Robert Saleh, I mean, they say they're very optimistic that he's going to start week 1, but this is something I'm going to have to wait till I see some video of him working out, of him doing some cuts, some jukes.
And his ADP is 29, Jason. So he's going like second, third round. It's crazy. I mean, third round. He's going like third round right now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So don't draft Brees Hall unless you know what the hell you're drafting. And then Jason, I was waiting for them to. I mean, they picked up they did draft a rookie running back here, but Alexander Mattison is now the starting running back for the Vikings. And if you look at all the games where he started, he averaged like amazing points. But if you talk to a Vikings fan, we are not impressed with Mattison. So the thing is about the rookie that we drafted is that his number one problem is fumbling issues. So I could see like Mattison actually being pretty good in the first half of the year. But I would love to draft our rookie for the second half of the year. That's why I have him 23. You are 20 on him. But if you're talking about the starting running back for the Vikings, we probably are both low on him. And he is ESPN has him ranked 6 or 17. So we are lower on Mattison than ESPN. But I think that's just because we know, I'd probably talk to you too much.
Yeah, it's Tyler. You've mentioned his efficiency as a running back. Out of 4 seasons, he's averaged 4.2 yards per carry. The Vikings do have the 8th best offensive line in the NFL. They do have a high power offense. They got a lot of weapons. The Vikings were 8th in the NFL last year for points per game. So, they score. He's a starting running back. But one thing I do notice, he's kind of a guy that he grinds down defenders because when he's given the ball 20 times a game, rushing attempts, his average yards per carry go up a little bit. And he can catch. He has a couple of games that have like 6 and 7 receptions. So I think it's more of like he's a lead back and he can catch the ball some.
Yeah, his average yards per carry his first couple of years was like over 5, and then he took a dump the last couple of years. So, yeah, like the Vikings know what's up, fans. And then Jason, our last running back that we're going to talk about today, even though you can look at our rankings, and I'll like read them off real fast for you too afterwards. We are going to talk about Rachaad White. I have him 24. You have him 25. He is only 24 years old. He was a rookie last season for Tom Brady and the Bucks. He did great last year. But dude, the Bucks are an all-out disaster, dude. Have you seen that video, Jason? I know you sent it to me, so I know you saw it.
Yeah.
Of those quarterbacks trying to hit receivers. It's going to be god-awful. So, like, Rachaad White on principle and usage alone should be drafted like a top 20 running back. And you and I both have him, 25?
Yeah, we both have him at 25. I I think this is more of like second year. He's going to be the guy behind that offensive line that is 27th in the NFL. We know this guy could catch because he caught 50 balls last year on 58 targets, averaging 5.4 yards per catch. We also seen that he can handle the load because against Seattle last year, I think it was week 10, he had 22 carries for 105 yards, which he averaged 4.8 yards per carry. Leonard Fournette gone. Tom Brady's gone. They drafted the offensive tackle, your guy, Cody Mauch. Like I have no front teeth.
Oh, yeah, he's cool. Yeah. No, their offensive line should be a lot better, dude.
Chase Edmonds is the backup, but he has not been reliable for the past like 2 or 3 years. That's why he keeps bouncing from team to team. They're going to run more with Baker Mayfield because they don't have Tom Brady. Tom Brady was throwing the ball around 40, 50 times a game. I don't think anybody wants to do that with Baker Mayfield, so I think they're going to focus on the run a lot.
I was like, I think they're fine with the offensive line. I just don't that. I just think the scoring opportunities for this offense is going to be like negative. It's going to be bad, man. It's going to be very bad.
Yeah.
All
so,
right, Jason.
Tyler, we still got like 3 more people I would like to get your opinion on.
All right, hurry up.
Okay. So, my 19th overall is Dameon Pierce. You know, I had him last year he averaged 11 points per game, 4.3 yards per carry. He has the 14th best offensive line.
Oh my God, I forgot Pierce. So Pierce was ranked 18 and 19th. God dang it. You're right. So I skipped Pierce. Sorry, Jason.
Oh, you're fine. You know, they had poor quarterback play last year. He only played in 13 games, but one thing I wanted to point out is that, you know, in college, he only had 100 rushing attempts his senior year at Florida, and he only had like 574 yards. But last year, as the number 1 back for the Texans, you know, going to get the ball a lot more. He rushed for 220 yards. That's the most he's ever had the ball. That's the most
220 carries, right?
220 carries. Yeah, what did I say? Balls?
You
Yeah,
said you ran for 220 yards.
Oh, sorry. He had 220 carries in 2022. He had 3 games of 22 and up carries. I think this is something that he has to get used to because, you know, in college, he had 1 year that was 100, another year that 106, and that was it. Now he's getting 200, so I think this is something that he's going to bounce back on and have probably a healthier season. He just had to get used to it.
Okay, so we actually have Pierce. I'm drinking, so sorry about this. We have him ranked after Dobbins. So Sanders, Dobbins, then Pierce, then Kamara, then ETN. So sorry about that. And then Jason, you probably want to talk about what, like Pacheco?
Yes, so I got Javonte Williams and Isaiah Pacheco as my last 2. I got Javonte Williams as number 2, and he had 4.3 yards per carry in 4 games last year. He didn't score at all. But in week 1, Tyler, this guy had 11 receptions in week 1. And that's what I want to see. I want to see that. And this guy's going to be in a Sean Payton offense now when he comes back. And they have the 10th best offensive line, as I mentioned earlier. My problem is that he tore his ACL, his LCL, and posterior lateral corner. And that's supposedly the worst case injury for any running back. So I don't know. I want to have to see some evidence of this guy actually progressing and doing well and taking hits because it sounds like his leg almost fell off. But in the end, you know, his style of play, his play style actually kicked Melvin Gordon off the team. And then he's a Sean Payton type of running back. And the Broncos are projected to explode this year. But since we don't have a timetable until training camp to see how he is, you know, I have him a little bit later.
All right, what's your next one, Jason?
23, Isaiah Pacheco. And that's because he had 5 total touchdowns last year. He had no reception touchdowns. He rushed for 830 rushing yards and only 170 attempts, though. He only had 170 rushing attempts, and he averaged 4.9 yards per carry. He was very low with only 14 targets last year and 13 receptions. You know, the Chiefs, according to Pro Football Network, are 7th in offensive line, but he's like one of my favorite running backs in the NFL just because he runs hard. He runs with power. He's the first one off the ground when he gets tackled. He's energetic. Give it everything you got. he gives it everything you got type of runner. And then, we got Matt Nagy now as OC, and he likes to run the ball. Just a couple stats here before we end it. His divisional round against the Jags, they relied on Pacheco because Mahomes sprayed his ankle, and where he had the ball 12 times for 95 yards. That's 7.9 yards per carry. And in the Super Bowl, he ran 15 times for 76 yards. That's 1 touchdown with 5.1 yards per carry. So he shows the possibility of being able to take a workload and do well with it.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is Eric Bieniemy is out. Charles Nagy's in. Last time Charles Nagy was in, we had Kareem Hunt doing well. So I'm still low because I'm as far as Patrick Mahomes needing a running back, I don't think he needs one. And I think it's Patrick. I'm just not going to draft a running back for Patrick Mahomes. That's all I think.
Yeah.
But their offensive line is top 5. So yeah, everything is pointing in Pacheco's direction. But I still have Jerick McKinnon over Pacheco because I think McKinnon is going to be a regular season monster, dude. Just like last year, maybe Pacheco comes around at the end of the season and into the playoffs. But I think that McKinnon, he's 31 years old, but I still think that he's going to be the main dude. So anyways, Jason, that's it. Sorry, I didn't want it to be a 2-hour video. So I'm it's an hour and 10 right now. I got to add this other stuff. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it. And guess what, dude? Catch you on the flip side.
Deuces.